It was late on the morning of November 9th, 1975, in the town of Superior, Wisconsin. At the Burlington Northern Railroad Pier, a massive Great Lakes ore freighter was being loaded with 26,116 tons of taconite pellets used in iron manufacturing. Little did anyone know it was this ship's final voyage. She was called the Edmund Fitzgerald, named after the chairman of the Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, who insured the ship. At 729 feet long and 75 feet wide, the Edmund Fitzgerald had been dubbed the Queen of the Lakes, an unofficial title given to the largest ship on the North American Great Lakes upon her completion in 1958. This made her just small enough to fit through the Soo locks at Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, allowing her to traverse the mighty and frigid Lake Superior. The ship was a beloved sight by the public as she traversed the Great Lakes for her 17 years in operation. On this day, loading took over 4 hours and wasn't completed until 4:15 p.m., and then the mighty Edmund Fitzgerald departed Superior, Wisconsin, bound for Zug Island south of Detroit. As they left port, however, a tough winter storm was closing in on Lake Superior. The ship's captain, Ernest McSorley, had been told that this storm would pass just beyond Lake Superior before they left, but the National Weather Service would revise this just hours after they left port, that now the storm was gunning straight for Lake Superior. Captain McSorley was a cautious man, but he was under pressure to get one more voyage done before the Edmund Fitzgerald was to be moored for the winter. The storm had caught up to the Edmund Fitzgerald by late morning on November 10th. She wasn't alone, as the Arthur M. Anderson joined it on its journey from Two Harbors, Minnesota to Gary, Indiana. Captain Cooper of the Anderson would remain in frequent contact with McSorley as they battled the harsh storm together across Lake Superior. Shortly before 2 p.m., the Anderson logged wind speeds of 58 miles an hour, and by 3:30, Captain McSorley alerted Cooper that the Edmund Fitzgerald had sustained minor damage to vent covers, part of a railing, and was taking on water. McSorley was using 2 of his 6 bilge pumps to continuously keep the Edmund Fitzgerald from flooding. All of this storm damage, combined with suspected chronic stress cracking and hatch clamp failures, put the ship in a very vulnerable position. By this point, it was starting to snow, and the Arthur M. Anderson lost visual sight of the Edmund Fitzgerald. The situation aboard the Fitzgerald deteriorated even further as McSorley reported to Cooper at 4:10 p.m. that they had lost radar. Cooper vowed to keep McSorley informed about the position of his ship. Finally, the U.S. Coast Guard radioed all ships that the Soo locks, the choking point that connected Lake Superior to the rest of the Great Lakes, was closed for the storm. Now the Edmund Fitzgerald was running blind, taking on water, and had to go slow to keep in the range of the slower Anderson's radar, and it had to desperately seek shelter from the November storm. Captain Cooper directed the Edmund Fitzgerald towards the safety of Whitefish Bay, just beyond the mouth of the Soo locks. It was a risky endeavor, due to the navigation equipment at Whitefish Point having been knocked out already by the storm. However, it was the only place McSorley could safely reach his battered ship. The ship was listing badly, and a constant barrage of waves crossed the deck. At 7:10 p.m., Captain Cooper contacted McSorley one last time and asked how the crippled ship was doing. McSorley responded, "We are holding our own." That was the last time anyone heard from the Edmund Fitzgerald. She would sink just 17 miles from Whitefish Bay soon after, without a distress call, taking all 29 men aboard and leaving behind one of the most mysterious wrecks on the Great Lakes.